Hey, this is Alex. I'm out here helping Malie, and we did a video on this a week or two ago, and we had some video problems, but we're going to discuss what's going on with this box. Now, I would show you the box. We can look at it. There's going to be some valves in here. The problem is these valves are old, and they're kind of a lower end valve. So if I go turn these on manually, I'm going to get sprinkler systems that are stuck on. And the cure for that
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So the cure for that, short term, is usually to go turn the main water off. If all the pressure reduces, then the solenoids will usually move back into place. Now, since I had 3 out of 4 of these get stuck, and 3 out of 4 of them return back to the way they were supposed to, it's not catastrophic. We don't have to jump on everything right now, but I don't want to turn these back on because then I've got to get them shut. Okay, so what we've got here, this valve has got a pressure reducer, so it's going to be a drip valve. The newer valves for this, you can actually get the drip and the filter all in the valve, or the pressure regulator, the valve and the filter all together. I haven't actually looked at those yet. Hopefully in the next month I will get a chance to play with some. These 3 other are for normal systems. Now, this right here is a great little thing. This will turn off the whole valve. And this is something that they don't really have in a lot of the newer valves, but I've always liked these because then I can reduce the amount of pressure going through the line. A lot of times you'll go out and your sprinklers will just be spraying, they'll be misting, just high velocity on it, which means if you're misting, especially in a windy area, that water's not hitting the ground, that's blowing away or evaporating. So between our heat and our wind in some of these areas in Utah, you're losing a huge amount of your water. So by adjusting these down, you can actually get to the point where you've eliminated the misting and have got much more reasonable velocity and pressure going on there. This is your solenoid. This is one of the first things that's going to go bad in a system. It's an electrical magnet. There's a better term for that, but I've lost it. And that makes a plunger go up and down. And it moves it up and down, and that's your on-off switch. And that plunger just blocks the line so the water won't go through it. Now down here you have a manual turn on.
It's just a little lever.
It's a little lever. Now how each system does this is different. Some of them you turn the solenoid, some of them you got a lever. There's a few other systems out there of ways to do it, and that's going to depend on the time period of your valve and who makes your valve. Those valves will get rocks caught on them, and I don't care how good your filtering system is, rocks get into your system. I don't know how. I suspect that the more you repair it, the more likely you are to get stuff in that way. But it'll get rocks, it'll grow algae. Get algae build up, and that'll interfere with your valve. So a lot of things we have to do is turn, and then we're going to have to do that with this system. We turn off the system at the street, come in here, open up, I didn't show you the bolts on top, but open it up, pull out that assembly, and look for the dirty parts and clean them off. Don't take anything too far apart or you won't get it back together again, probably. And you'll have to wipe things down. And then a lot of times you do that, your solenoid works, your valve works, and you're good to go.
When he says valve, he's not talking about unscrewing it from the pipes or anything. He's talking about the top of it. And I've actually replaced the ones in my front yard that were the same as the ones back here, and they have those in stock. Just unscrew the top part, and you can replace that top part.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if the video showed, and I don't want to turn on manually, and I don't want to, but this, and Malia and I have talked about this. This originally was set up really wonky. We're standing up here, we've got one zone on. We've got sprinklers around to the side you can't see. We've got a sprinkler here, we've got a sprinkler here, and
then one way back here.
One way back there. Now, can you get on video the overshoot on that from one head to this head?
Oh, and then there's one down here.
Yeah.
These heads are way too close together, but they put them close together because all of a sudden they realized that that head was too far away. So there's the one way over there by the gate. There's one right here next to my bed. and then they overshoot way over to the hill.
Now,
Now
when
this one.
you're doing an irrigation system, you want the spray from one head to just touch the sprinkler the next sprinkler over. And so, to use the melee, here's one sprinkler. This sprinkler should shoot like this, and then this sprinkler over here should shoot to this one. I learned this one from Melee. She's much better at that than I am. And so those have to touch. Now, if you're in a high wind area, you may want them to overshoot just a little bit to compensate for the wind. That's really kind of technical. But when you're repairing a system, I don't know if you can see it, they need to touch. Now,
See, now this one is I don't know if you can see it, but this one is hitting the other head, and that head does hit this head.
Yeah, it does. So those are good, but the stuff behind Melee that
is
she
way
showed earlier
overshooting everything.
Really wonky. And then over here, we really need to show this by the stairs.
Okay.
We've got that head that you can see right there at the left of the pad, and then if you go to the right of that, there's another head there. Now, the one on the right does not appear to be properly turning.
Oh, it's not that's what the issue is. Okay.
Yeah, but you'll notice the distance between those heads is about 5 to 6 feet, and it's way overshooting. Now that's compensating for kind of a little bit of an odd-shaped lawn. But honestly, if I were to redesign this system, I would be going and looking at doing a better compensation there.
Right.
And I think we have enough in place that we could. I don't know if I want to put the work into it.
No.
And so, in fact, I would probably...
Is it starting to turn now?
It is turning now. It is turning now. That's another key point is you have to sit here and kind of watch for a while. Because they're turning when you first turn them on doesn't mean they're going to turn in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Any sprinkler guy or gal has come in and seen that, it's moving, great, turn it off. Why do I have this dry spot? Finally, they'll turn it on and watch it for 20 minutes. And like 3 minutes in, it'll quit moving
turning
around.
Yeah. Very
common, especially with these rotors. I haven't seen as much problem with mini rotors, but I have seen that happen. And a lot of times, this is, we made jokes last time a lot about fish in the system here. I don't know if those got on the video, but we haven't actually found fish in this system. But these are really, there is a lot of dirt in this. There is a lot of algae that builds up because there's a lot of nutrition in this water, and that'll gum up one of these rotors. Rotors are really hard to clean out.
Basically, if they get clogged, it's just about it. You just replace them.
Yeah, you replace them, exactly. And that one that was jammed if we actually adjusted it so we could do better with just adjusting where the head was pointing.
Yeah.
And again, on a system that's had a little bit of alteration and wasn't great in the first place, you've really got to be open to making those adjustments. One of the things that I have to do with these when I'm upgrading them or trying to improve them is nozzles. Right. Nozzles are really a big deal on getting your right distance. But keep in mind, especially with these rotors, you change the nozzle and you're very much changing the amount of water to the area you're putting. And anytime you change a nozzle, add a sprinkler, you're changing the pressure in the system. If you do not have sufficient pressure, you may have screwed up the rest of the system. And so these are really touchy, and each system is going to be unique. But again, if you're changing sizes of nozzles, trying to add new heads, the first thing you need to do is take pressure readings, because you've got to make sure you've got enough pressure. So pressure meters are about $12-15 at a sprinkler store. You usually screw them into a faucet, not on the house, unless you have a culinary system used for watering.
Yeah.
But you're going to screw it on to, usually there's,
Like the filter we had on the last film.
yeah, there's a spout on the filter, a spigot on the filter. Mine's got a spigot before it gets to the filter, plus I've got a watering station where I can do a hose end watering. I can hook it up to that and check my pressure real quick that way. And then turn on the zone you're working with and see what happens to the pressure. If you run at 60 and you go down to 5,
you know there's something.
Nothing to play with.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've got at least 60. There's some of these systems where you're going to be working with a lot less pressure. Again, if you're on a hill area, especially if you've got a secondary system, especially in a drought here, you will not get full pressure.
Let's go show them my hill area.
Let's go show it. And we're running into a few problems here. First of all, we've got a fence here that the sprinkler is literally shooting through.
Yep.
That's, again, what happens when you start changing the landscape. Now, when these were changed, this is probably not a situation you could solve, but we could actually put an MT rotator or a mini rotator. They're not perfect on the same system as rotors, but they're close enough to the amount of time you need to run that we can put a strip spray in here, get better coverage up the hill, and we probably don't need as much coverage out there.
Right.
Now that's going to be a balancing act because that's also our high shade area, so it literally doesn't need as much water.
The other issue is that hill over there. He did not, there's netafin on the entire hill except for the side where these irrigation heads hit, and his plan was that these irrigation heads would hit that hill.
Yeah. Now if you see it right there, you'll see there's a brown patch, and this is hitting at the bottom of the brown patch. That's why we have a brown patch. This isn't hitting head to head or nozzle to nozzle. Also,
because it's a hill and it can't.
Yeah. There should really be a third sprinkler up there as well.
There is a third one at the top, but it doesn't reach all the way down to the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, it's there. There's a third one there.
Yeah. And the hill also bakes, so it needs more water. So because it's a hill, the angle of the irrigation does not allow it to hit it, and then it bakes. So I've given up on trying to water that area.
Yeah. But then this is a dog run.
It's a dog run.
This is mostly to keep it from becoming a baked dust pile.
And a mud bath.
Now, you'll also notice, if you saw it, there we go. The sprinkler is now hitting that red bud, and that's the other thing that's causing that brown patch up there, is we're getting a lot of interference on how much water is actually getting through because of the tree. And as it hits about halfway through, it's hitting it, really, this is worse pressure than the last time we showed this area.
Yeah, it just, Pleasant Grove City has real bad fluctuating pressure problems too.
I think it's not something we should be looking at a city system for necessarily, although, again, if you're on a hill, especially in a drought year, then it does matter because they don't have enough water to get enough pressure.
Right.
The reality is pressure is going to depend on the use of the day or the time of the day. And so it's actually really, really important to get out there and observe when you're actually going to be watering to see what's going on.
Yeah. The number of water users can reduce the amount of pressure.
When Lehigh, where I lived at the time, finally put in water restrictions, they were being very conscientious and gave good counsel, except for one thing: they didn't have enough water to meet
the demand at one time of day.
At the time that they required it. So when you were watering at night like you were supposed to, you almost never had enough pressure. And literally there were spray nozzles, which are usually going to be 12 feet from head to head. They would go like this and go 1.5 to 2 feet. That's all they could reach because there wasn't enough pressure. Pressure variations really make a difference. And again, even in a well-designed system, even in a city that's doing its best, this is worse than rocket science. Rocket science is fairly consistent. This, if one big water user changes his patterns in an area,
it's going to change the pressure.
It can change the pressure.
Yeah.
And, trying to avoid that's actually really difficult because you can pressurize the system more, but then they react differently.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got that spot. Let's show them this spot and show them the difference and then show them what's going on here.
Okay.
So we've got brown spot at the top of the hill. You know, hopefully you can see that. Now we've got dead spot here. So we're going to show you what that looks like.
Okay, so what we have here, we've got 1, 2, 3 spray heads, and the spray heads on the other side of the fence that are on the same zone. Now if you come over here, the one that's doing the most coverage of the brown spot is messed up.
It's completely clogged.
It's clogged. It's not popping up far enough. I can't tell whether there's a problem. What kind of heads are those?
I'm not even sure. I haven't looked at this one for a long time.
Okay, there's dirt on it. Okay, so that needs to be, the nozzle on that needs to be replaced and the head needs to be lifted. Because even if the nozzle were running at 100%,
the head's too low.
The head's too low. So it's gonna make a really wet patch right next to the house and dry patches over there.
Yep.
Now, it's kind of interesting here because you see the dry patch. Now, obviously, water's not going past the dry patch yet.
This is neighbors.
We have this wet spot here. That's the neighbors being kind and generous. We're watering right now in the middle of a Saturday. It's okay to check your systems, but watering in the middle of the day is usually not very efficient. As soon as they start getting charged for the water, they're going to pay more because they've got to run more water during the day.
Yep.
Okay, so we come over to this nozzle. This nozzle...
It's misting, so it's got too much pressure.
It's misting, and it looks like there's some blockage over on that right-hand side, and again, it's too low. The same thing can be said for that one, is it's too low. That one looks like it's probably the best of the three. Now, as far as sprinkler design goes, this is not well designed because if you look behind us, we should have spray heads over here throwing water over there. Now, the way the dynamics on this works is usually the far end of where it sprays is going to get the most water, and then as you move closer, well, so it should be getting more water over there. As you move closer to that head, you'll be getting less water from that head.
Right.
Which is why you have them head to head, is so you get even coverage. You've also got a backup. If you do have a plug, you don't lose everything.
Right.
So this isn't designed right. Now, this is a common situation with sprinkler design folks. They'll look at this, they'll look at their pressure, and they'll look at everything and say, for whatever reason, I don't want to put head to head.
Well, they don't want it spraying against the house. Matter of fact, we should have a landscape bed, a flower bed up against the house, so we don't have all that water up there.
And I get that architecturally, but from a standpoint of the garden guy,
yep,
this is a less efficient system. Okay, guys, don't meddle with your landscape. Well, thank Malie for the opportunity here. Malie is awesome. I've worked with her,
well,
not directly, but she's been one of my clients at the nursery, and I've got a lot of respect for her. She's one of the people where if we have a disagreement, I sit back and I think, hey, where am I getting this disagreement from? A lot of it's just because we're coming from
two different positions.
Two different needs.
Got two different needs, yep.
But I've never heard her say anything that I thought was unreasonable, ever.
Same with Alex.
I may not fully agree with it for the situation I'm in, but if I look at her situation, it's like, aha, got it.
Yeah.
So Malie's really great. This is one of the videos I got behind on some of her longer videos, but I make sure that I watch everything she does because I will learn from her.
Well, I watch everything Alex does too because you learn. Everybody comes from a different place, and you learn. It's my
stunning good look she watches for.
Oh yes.
You know, that awesome, lush, long man hair.
I know that does it every time, Alex. Every time.
But I appreciate this opportunity to work with her. Really respect her. You will learn a lot in this station, and please subscribe. And thank you all very much. Manana.